Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here coming to you live from Mesa in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling start to your winning Wednesday. Yes, it is that time of the week where we get to celebrate our wins for the week. No matter how no matter how big or small those wins are, we want to celebrate. I was reading a really cool article about. Hang on, I'm gonna remember what it's called. There was a really cool article I came across, and it's one of my writing ones that I follow, and they put out this one, the winning mindset you need for a killer contest. Hang on, the winning mindset you need for a killer writing contest entry, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And it worked out perfectly since it is Winning Wednesday. So I was reading through this, and there are three things that this person put in there, and I thought, well, we could apply these things to just about anything. So if you think about your goals when you set them, how do you set them? What do you set them for? All that sort of stuff. It's the first one was don't commit to win, commit to grow. And I thought, that's an interesting thing. So when I read the paragraph, that was the number one. So when I read the paragraph, it was work at only tell the best story that you are capable of telling, because you have no control over what the judges will like on the day that they read your story. Because when it comes to winning competitions, it's all about what are the judges looking for on the day that you compete, no matter what competition you're in. You know, in gymnastics, do you have one judge that specifically looks at your landings? Are you nailing your landings today? And you might have a okay landing, and you think it's a perfect landing, but in the judge's mind, it's sort of like, yeah, that was an okay landing. Do you have another one when your arms aren't out straight when you're doing the cross on the rings? Things like that. If you are doing a fashion contest, what is the judge looking for that day? Do they happen to like the particular fabric that you've used? But it could be that they don't like that fabric at all. They don't like working with it. They don't like it. Yes, you've done something amazing with it, but because they don't like the fabric, that could affect their thing. You cannot control the outcome of a competition by going in by what judges expect it to be. What you can control is being the best that you can be, and knowing that you have given your best and then some. So there are times that when you watch these athletes in competition and stuff, they turn around and say, oh, that was their best time ever. You know that on the day, not only did they give their best, they beat their best time, but it's like if the runners and things, they beat their best time, they beat their personal best time. So you know that they gave their all and a little bit more. So when it comes to goal setting, are you sitting out there with, I'm just going to complete this goal, or are you sitting out there to grow yourself and stretch yourself and become better than what you are right now, and be able to tell the best story or do the best recruitment, sales, or whatever it is that you are capable of? How far are you willing to go to get a, not how far are you willing to go to get sales, because that kind of makes it cheesy. But what are you willing to do in order to grow yourself to become better than what you are now? So, the athlete's perfect example. They beat their best time. They beat their best height. They beat their best distance. They beat their personal best. And when an athlete beats their personal best in a competition, and they may not even have won the competition. So think about that. You've got athletes when it comes to like the Olympics and the Olympic sports, Commonwealth Games, any World Championships things, all of those sorts of things. When somebody gets out there and they beat their personal best, they may not have even won the competition, but they still have that winning attitude because they went out there, they gave their all and a little bit more. So think about that. Don't expect perfection. Expect to revise and improve. And I'm like, this is so true with anything. Whenever you're going after any goal, or accepting challenges, like me accepting to do a Facebook Live every day for a year. We're now on day 532. So 532 days of doing a Facebook Live. How was my first one? It sucked. Did I still suck? Yeah. Am I improving? Yeah. Always look to improve. So don't expect perfection the first time out. Don't expect that you're going to get a perfect 10 the first time you get on a beam and do your beam routine. Is your first beam routine going to suck? Absolutely. Are you going to fall off? Maybe. Probably. It's not going to be perfect. The first time you try a routine in a competition, it is not going to be perfection out of the gate. you're going to, because there's all that practice, it's practice, that's gone into it. If you see somebody get on there, and I know in competitions they get their perfect score and stuff, yes, but you haven't seen what's been going on behind, all the revisions they have been making to get to that point, all the improvements they've been making. You know, you watch these figure skaters out there, they do these gorgeous routines. Yes, some of them have a little stumble in the competition and stuff, or they take off on the wrong foot, land on the wrong foot, they don't do it correctly and stuff. But what you haven't, and you think, wow, I could never do that. But what you don't see, it's like Casey's example. Casey's always talking about the iceberg. At the top of you always see just the tip of the iceberg, which is those hours. But what you don't see is what's underneath, which is those hours and hours and hours and hours of practice and training and refining and improving, and just so that they can get out there and do the best that they can be, knowing that the routine may not be perfect. But again, if it's something that's set up to a judge could turn around and say, that was a perfect routine, we saw no faults. You might get off the ring and go, damn, I should have just done this to make it that much better. But then you see the scores come up and it's like, oh, okay. But, it's those hours and hours and hours of preparation that you see. So when you can see them get to competition level, are they going to be perfect out of the gate? Maybe, because they've spent those hours and hours and hours of practice. But are they going to be perfect out of the gate if they haven't spent those hours and hours of practice? Absolutely not. When I used to judge gymnastics, we had kids, they didn't actually get a lot of time to practice. They knew the movements that they needed to do. They knew how to do a forward roll. They knew how to do a handstand. But what they didn't know was about combining those and putting them into a combination. So there was, when they were doing the combinations, things, and I did recreation gymnastics, not the high level gymnastics using TV. I just did recreation gymnastics. And so these kids would just meet like once a week, where they would be in their gym class for one day a week, not 5-6 hours a day in the gym club or whatever it is that these professionals or the higher level spend. So these are kids that are in a gym class, one class a week. They have a competition maybe once a month, once a year, once every 6 months. And were they perfect every time? No. Did they give their best? Absolutely. You could see the determination on those kids' faces, and it just brought me so much joy when you could see them working through the routine. We gave them a practice run, and then they had their competition. And then we went round again, and they did their competition run. And sometimes their practice run was better than their competition run, because in the practice, it was okay if they made a mistake. But in the competition round, it was a little more pressure. Had they been at that higher level of gymnastics, where you're doing the hours of practice every week, not just one day a week, where you're practicing literally on a daily basis, and for several hours a day, would they expect perfection when they got out there? Yeah, they would get out there, they would give their best. They know the pressure of competition. Recreation gymnastics, we don't know that pressure. We really don't. But always expect to revise and improve your routines, everything that you do to go along. Don't expect perfection out of the gate. Don't review the submission as the end of the journey. View it as a quick pit stop. And I thought, this is so cool. Because how many times do we reach a goal and go, yes, I got that goal done. And you're riding that high for a few days, and all of a sudden it's like, well, now what? Huh. And then it sort of you get that drop, and it's sort of like the excitement wears off because you've now completed that goal and you don't have the next one set up. Always, always, always have goals. Always have goals. I have my goals for 2021 written out. I know what goals I'm going after this year. Towards the end of the year, I may, some of those dates go into next year because it's a massive goal. I've got a couple of really, really big goals that I'm going to be working on over the next 3 years. I think it's 3 years. There's a 2-year goal in there and there's a 3-year goal in there. But what I have done is I've taken that massive goal and I've broken it down to, here's this 12-month, this is what I want to achieve from this massive, so my massive goal is in the distance, but right now this is what I need to do. And I've broken it down year by year, month by month, week by week. So I know that this week I have to do this in order to be that first step to get that massive goal. So yes, I have the 3-year goal, but I've broken it down into smaller steps. So as I go to that step, it's like, yes, that step's done, but I already know what the next step is. And then I've got other goals I'm working on as well. So I've got goals going simultaneously, and they've all got different finish times or different end dates. So when you're doing something like writing a submission, what do you do when you're in competition? When you are, if you think of the pro athletes and stuff, when their season ends, does their training end? No, they may take a week off, but then they're back into training again. They're into off-season training, so that when it comes back to on-season, so when the season starts up again, they're ready to go. They don't take the whole off-season. Oh, well, don't need to do anything more until next year's season. What do you think is going to happen to them the first day they step into their sport? If they've taken 4 or 5 months off, what do you think is going to happen? No, they go into off-season training to prep them for the next season. So if you think about that, what can you do with your goals when you finish that goal? What goals do you have lined up? What other goals do you have running that you can still keep that momentum going? Because the stop-start thing, yeah, it's not working. And I've gotten back into my writing again. I'm journaling every day. What's today, the 13th? So I've done 12 days in a row of journaling. I am going for a year on this, and to journal every day. And it is starting to create a habit of writing on a daily basis, but it's also affecting my writing, where I'm starting to get a little more creative on ideas and things that I want to write about. And I have these book ideas floating around in my head, but I'm starting to write them down. And I've got a whole bunch already written down. What I need to do is just pad them out a little bit and create the stories. But there's always the stories going on in my head. Always, 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 always. And those characters sometimes pop up and go, hey, we haven't spoken for a while. And I'm going, well, you've been hiding. What do you want to talk about? And so sit down and write what they want to talk about. So when you finish your competition, when you finish your goal, what is the next one? It should already be planned. It should already be in the works. So think about when off-season comes. When your off-season is when that goal has ended. Do you go into off-season training or do you go off? So think about it. So 3 things that to create a winning submission for a writer is to don't commit to win, commit to grow, and only tell the best story you're capable of. So give your best performance every day, because you have no say in what the judges can do, what the judges are going to like on that particular day, and in some cases you don't even know what judges you're going to get on the day. And it could be you could have a judge that for some reason has a grudge against you, so they're not going to score you very high. So or you have some judge in there that absolutely loves you no matter what you do. They're going to put you up in the top thing. So you never know what's going to happen on the day of competition. So always give your best, do your best, beat your personal best. So what can you do to beat your personal best? Don't expect perfection, expect to revise and improve. You can't get perfection without hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of training. Think of an iceberg. We only see the tip of the iceberg. We don't see the massive area underneath the water level where all the work has gone in. All we see is what's the result. When you look at sports, all we see is what is the result of hours and hours and hours of training. And if you think about it, if you think about the athletes, they go out, they play their game, could be tennis, could be basketball, baseball, whatever. They go out and play the game. Whether they win or not, what are they doing the next day? They're back into training. They're training for the next game that's coming up or the next competition that's coming up. Some of them may get a day off because they've got especially if they're traveling, they may have to travel the next day. But within 2 or 3 days of that last game or whatever, they're prepping for the next game. They're already in prep mode. They're into debriefs about, okay, what can we improve from the last game? Well, when we did this particular move, it didn't work so well. What if we put this person over here and this person over here? Can that make it work a little better? So you're into those debrief. The day after the game is the debrief. What can we improve on? What can we make those changes and tweaks to? So always expect to improve, to revise and improve. And then don't view submission as the end of the journey. View it as a quick pit stop. You finish that goal, take a day to celebrate, then we're on to the next one. So that's it for me for Winning Wednesday. I'm actually going to post the article. I think I'll post the link for the article in the description, because it was actually a very interesting article, but it can very easily be adapted to other areas in life, not just in writing. So look at it. So that's what I do when I attend seminars and things. As it's 10 hours. They may give a really great advice and stuff in the thing, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't apply to my business, but how can I make it apply to my business? Because it's really good advice and I'd really like to follow it. Or it's a really good concept or a really good idea. How can we tweak it and change it for my thing? So look at this article that I'm going to put the link in the description for. Look at this article as, yes, this is about writing, but how can we apply it to life? How can I apply it to my business? How can I apply it to my goals? That's it for me for today. Have a super fantastic Sparkling Winning Wednesday, and we will catch you guys later today. He konera.